His home's the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, a place where dreams can come true. 4 SEC teams still have dreams on winning the SEC tournament title today at the Orlando Arena. 3 Cinderella teams continue to dance as the SEC tournament semifinals unwind. In today's first game, the Ole Miss Rebels go up against the Vanderbilt Commodores. For your viewers that are maybe having some transmission problems, we are battling sunspots. That problem should clear up very, very shortly. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Orlando Arena. I'm Bob Kessling. Today, it's two teams that have been really going through this tournament, fighting off upsets and coming off with big, big wins. The Vanderbilt Commodores yesterday knocked off the Tennessee Volunteers, the number 4 seed in this tournament. Meanwhile, the Ole Miss Rebels came up with a very impressive win over the Tennessee Volunteers. Vanderbilt beat Georgia, which is the number 1 seed. Bob Weltlich is a member of our broadcast crew for the SEC tournament. Bob, have you been surprised so far as how the tournament has unfolded?
Bob, I really haven't. You know, we talked about parity all year long, and as we followed this team, we knew anybody could beat anybody on any given night. And especially when you have teams like LSU, for example, who are already in the NCAA tournament for all practical purposes, they may not have quite the incentive that some of these other teams have. So with parity being as it is, incentive falling into the side of the underdog, the upsets or the so-called upsets are no real surprises.
Alabama is the only seeded team that has survived the upset bug. 3 Cinderella teams are still here fighting for the SEC tournament. To call the action in the first game, Marty Brenneman and Larry Connolly. Marty?
Thank you, Bob. Larry, the so-called experts would tell you that neither Vanderbilt nor Ole Miss should even be here today. Can these two clubs come down from emotional highs yesterday and get ready mentally to play?
Marty, I think they better stay emotionally high because these are 2 basketball teams right now with gutsy performances, particularly Vanderbilt. I think at the end of January and early February, nobody expected to see Vanderbilt and Ole Miss playing for the right to go to the finals.
Well, we're looking for a good one. Bob, back to you.
Okay, Marty. It's a very big day in college basketball, of course. March Madness continues. Many tournament semifinals and finals are being held today. We'll keep you up to date all afternoon long on those basketball contests. We'll have highlights and interviews at halftime. But right now, it's the first game of our semifinals as it's the Ole Miss Rebels against the Vanderbilt Commodores. And here to call it for you, Marty Brenneman.
And it is Orlando, Florida's version of the Final Four, the semifinal round of the 1990 Southeastern Conference Basketball Tournament. Stay with us. Never let it be said Vanderbilt coach Eddie Fogler doesn't get into his team's play. That was certainly the case last night as the Commodores played the role of giant killer, upsetting top-seeded Georgia to advance to today's semifinal round of the SEC tournament. On the court, the antics of Kevin Anglin had a whole lot to do with the outcome. Anglin pulled down a team-high 9 rebounds as Vandy shockingly out-rebounded the Georgia Bulldogs 42-27. It was also a big night for senior co-captain Eric Reed. His contribution showed 13 points and a strong rebounding effort, helping to extend his collegiate career by at least 1 more game. Overall, Vandy did what they do best, and that is hitting their free throws. 32 out of 39 overall, with guard Scott Drought drilling 7 of 8 en route to a 14-point game performance. Meanwhile, back at the bench, Coach Fogler, well, he was getting himself together for another go at it today. For Ole Miss, the sheet music turned out to be sweet music. Although you'd never know it, Coach Ed Murphy seemed to be singing a different tune for most of the game that saw his Rebels score a 1-point win over the Tennessee Volunteers. Freshman Joe Harvell was brilliant from beyond the 3-point line, hitting 5 trays and scoring 24 points. And it was a normal day for All-American Gerald Glass, 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. The final, Ole Miss 87 and Tennessee 86. Back at the ranch, or at the bench, Coach Ed Murphy, well, he was still been out of shape. He'll have that opportunity one more time today as the Rebels meet the Commodores in JP Sports and Pepsi's coverage of the SEC Tournament semifinals.
JP Sports presents the best in regional college basketball, the Southeastern Conference. The Pepsi SEC Game of the Week is brought to you by Pepsi-Cola and your local Pepsi bottler. By the Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company. For insurance and financial services, better call JP. By Gillette and the revolutionary Gillette Sensor Shaving System. Gillette, the best a man can get. By Budweiser, Beechwood Aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Delta, the airline of SEC country. We love to fly, and it shows. By your local Agri-Center dealer. For your farm, your family, your piece of America. Agri-Center means more. By Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by AT&T, the right choice.
You're looking live at beautiful Orlando Arena. It's an afternoon of semifinal action in the 1990 SEC tournament. That's the first game matchup. The Commodores of Vanderbilt against the Rebels of Ole Miss. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody. So glad you're with us. I'm Marty Brenneman. Happy to be reunited once again with former Kentucky star Larry Conley. Larry, Vanderbilt and Ole Miss, an unlikely matchup, if you will, especially in Vanderbilt's case, their third game in 48 hours. It's got to be a tough assignment for Eddie Fogler's club.
Marty, it could be very tough for them, but it's a basketball team that's gotten here through two very gutty performances. They played very well against a Florida team and a Georgia team who was the #1 seed. They've got a lot of unlikely heroes for a very unlikely team.
I like your term, unlikely heroes, and when you have two clubs get this far, there has to be some on both ball clubs.
Well, there really are. For Ole Miss, it's got to be Patrick Getty, who probably has come to the forefront. We all know about Gerald Glass and his ability to play. Watch Patrick Getty today. He's really coming on very strong. On the other side, Vanderbilt, when you start passing out medals, when this battle's over with, there are going to be a lot of guys lined up to collect them. And I think Morgan Wheat right now is one of those leading guys along with Kevin Anglin.
These two clubs, of course, trying to pull off what would be a Cinderella finish here in Orlando tomorrow. And we'll be back and take a look at this afternoon's starting lineups right after this. We are back live in Orlando, Florida, in Orlando Arena. The first semifinal game of the 1990 SEC tournament, Vanderbilt and Mississippi. Time now for our AC Delco starting lineups. And for the lineups, let's go to public address announcer Marty Stone.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Orlando Arena for the first semifinal game of the Southeastern Conference basketball tournament between the Vanderbilt University Commodores and the University of Mississippi Rebels. Now introducing the starting lineup for Vanderbilt. At forward, a 6'7" junior from Marietta, Georgia, number 31, Steve Grant. At forward, a 6'4" freshman from Franklin, Tennessee, number 20, Kevin Anglin. At center, a 6'8" senior from Macon, Georgia, number 52, Eric Reed. At guard, a 6'2" junior from Crestview Hills, Kentucky, number 13, Scott Stroud. And at guard, a 5'11" senior from Louisville, Kentucky, number 3, Derek Wilcox. And the head coach for the Commodores, Eddie Fogler. And now the starters for Mississippi. At forward, a 6'11" junior from Memphis, Tennessee, number 55, Patrick Eddy. At forward, a 6'7" freshman from Gosnell, Arkansas, number 24, Joe Harvell. At center, a 6'11" junior from Oxford, Mississippi, number 21, Sean Murphy. At guard, a 6'3" junior from Holly Springs, Mississippi, number 22, Tim Jumper. And at guard, a 6'6" senior from Greenwood, Mississippi, number 4, Gerald Glass. And the head coach for the Rebels, Ed Murphy.
That's our AC Delco starting lineups. AC Delco, automotive parts that don't just fit, they match. Vanderbilt and Ole Miss all set to tee it up here in Orlando Arena. Back with the opening tip-off in a moment.
Do I look like some little old lady who only drives to church on Sunday? I know what matters in a truck. I know this Ranger XLT has more room up here and more features than I'd get on the same kind of Toyota or Chevy. And And it's priced lower, too.
Ford Ranger, #1 for all the right reasons.
I mean, I didn't buy the best-selling compact truck in America by mistake.
The best-built American trucks are built Ford tough.
No matter where you're farming, no matter what you grow, all across America, we're the people you need to know.
Cyanamid Agri Center dealers come in all shapes and sizes. They're your local agricultural retailers, a committed group of independent companies and co-ops. But now they have even more to offer.
Agri Center means more.
Because now they're also Cyanamid Agri Center dealers.
A picture show to go. Check out a movie. Watch it night and day. One low price for every show. A bargain matinee. Oh, check out a movie. A picture show to go. Anytime is showtime. And I'll for video.
This is on the court. Vanderbilt ready to come out. The first semifinal matchup today. The Commodores, of course, pulling off the big upset last night. And they, like Ole Miss, trying to reach that final round tomorrow. The officials, David Dodge, Dave Baer, and John Clockerty, they'll call it. And as far as what has transpired between these two clubs this season, Ole Miss coming out on the short end in Nashville in January, and then about a month later at Oxford, it was a one-point win for the Ole Miss Rebels, 68-67. Of course, this is something of a landmark day for Ole Miss, the first semifinal appearance they have made since 1982, the year after they won it all, the SEC tournament, and they're going to have first pop at it, barring a turnover as Glass gets the opening tip.
Marty Vanderbilt opens up in a man-to-man. Eddie Fogler, the first two games, has used so many different defenses. I lost count of them. He had about 8 last night.
Glass kicks it outside to Jumper. They work it inside. That's Eddie, and it rolls off the iron. The battle for the rebound at the end line is saved. And Ole Miss will recycle the offense.
It's a talented club with some outstanding players. Everyone knows about Gerald Glass. Tim Jumper's had an awfully good year, as has Joe Harvell, who's been on the coaches all SEC teams.
Sean Murphy follows. It rolls off again. It is saved, but this time into the hands of a Vanderbilt Commodore. Derek Wilcox quickly up the floor as the Commodores go to offense for the first time in the ball game.
And Ole Miss opens up in a man-to-man defense. Vanderbilt very good with their half-court game in their first 2 games of this tournament.
It's, of course, a revamp lineup for Eddie Fogler as Scott Stroud pours one in from the outside. Stroud rings the bell on a 2-pointer, and the Commodores take the 2-0 lead.
You know, they're playing their 3rd game in less than 48 hours. I think all they've done is play basketball, sleep, and eat. That's about all they've had time for.
Tim Jumper. Guarded by the smaller Wilcox. The defender Anglin fell down, and that's murder as Gerald Glass ties it up. 2-2 the score here in the early going. He has burned Vanderbilt this season. 2 big ball games, 36 and 26 points. And that's got to be a major concern for Eddie Fogler, as it is for any SEC coach anytime they have at it against Ole Miss. With Glass on the floor, Anglin off to Wilcox.
Right now, Ole Miss playing a very soft man-to-man. Not a lot of pressure. Wilcox has got Anglin open. Glass got there in a hurry.
One of the unlikely heroes, as Larry Conley referred to them at the top, Kevin Anglin last night. The bank fails by Drought, and Sean Murphy corrals a rebound. Jumper gets it front court in a hurry. Glass beats Anglin on the baseline, but missed the driving layup, and it's rebounded by Grant of Ole Miss. Here comes Wilcox. And now brings it back outside. Anglin left open, will shoot, and he'll hit the 3.
Marty, you talk about unlikely heroes. Right there is the man I think could lead the cast. 9 rebounds last night, and already starting off with a 3 here today. A freshman, he has looked terrific in this tournament.
Well, we mentioned the revamp lineup. This is the 6th game that this 5 has started for Eddie Fogler. They've gone 4-1 as Jumper drives the baseline.
Tim Jumper also having an awfully good tournament. Just 3 shy of 1,000. Now he's just 1 shy.
Game tied 4-4. Anglin handles, loops it inside, but the big right arm of Joe Harvell reaches up and snatches it away.
One thing Vanderbilt did against Georgia the other night was they turned it over 16 times, which is uncustomary for them. But they did out-rebound a much taller Georgia club.
Harville misses a three. He didn't miss too many times yesterday, hitting 5 of them. Here's a drive by Wilcox. He found the hole, and he'll be on the free throw line, or will he? Let's see if they ruled that the foul was committed while he was in the act of shooting or before.
Look at it down low. Derek Wilcox in the first 2 games of this tournament really has assumed a different kind of role. Not a scorer, more of a passer and a defender, simply because he had some very key people to guard, including Lateral Green, and he did an outstanding job on him yesterday.
Eddie Fogler substitutes twice. Charles Mays and Todd Milholland coming off the bench, replacing Anglin and Grant. Drought is left open. Rebounded by the senior co-captain Reed, rejected by Glass, and picked up by Jumper. They've got the numbers. There's the cutting Eddie. Great defensive play from behind by Todd Milholland. Up ahead to Drought. They try to convert. The foul is called.
Oh, Glass took a bad spill down there. 3 guys went to the deck. I think maybe Glass got it the worst of all. Even though he landed, it looked like on top of who's down underneath. I can't see who's on the bottom down there.
Looks like Patrick Eddy and Gerald Glass underneath the Vanderbilt basket. Scott Drought got up somewhat slowly, but apparently he is one of the fortunate of the 3 players, and they called the foul on Harvell.
Yeah, Harvell was the one underneath right there, but Glass really took a bad spill underneath. Ed Murphy very concerned, looking on right now.
Second team foul called against Ole Miss, and now Glass slowly into a seated position as we look at it again.
And now watch the move here. Great block by Milholland from behind. He had Eddie. Eddie thought he had a layup, and Milholland surprised him with his ability to get up and block that shot. Watch Wilcox push the ball up the floor. He's got Drought on the left side. A good move by Drought to take advantage. There's the foul. Now look at Glass come right there. He tripped right. Ooh, I'll tell you who should have been hurt right there.
You're right.
Harvell.
Absolutely. Glass slowly up and slowly heading toward the end of the Ole Miss bench. And you can't blame Ed Murphy if he very quietly and unobtrusively has his fingers crossed in the hope that this will be a simple temporary thing and he'll have his All-American back on the floor again. Drought, meanwhile, gets a couple of free throws. 90% on the season as he hits for his 3rd point.
He had a string of 30 broken last night. Of course, this whole Vanderbilt team can shoot free throws. That's the one thing you don't want to do against this club. Don't send him to the line. I just jinxed him.
Patrick Eddy is there for the Ole Miss rebound. 16:35 to go, first half, 6-4. Vanderbilt with the lead. Jumper.
And he switched defenses now. They packed it back inside. Looks like a matchup zone.
James Bailey just off the Ole Miss bench to Harvell shooting, and he is 0 for his first 2. Contact made is inside, and apparently Todd Milholland undue contact against the big guy for Ole Miss, Sean Murphy. Nope, they call it against Derek Reed. That'll be his first.
Gerald Glass still sitting on the bench over there. Ed Murphy right in front of him, asking him how he's doing. The trainer has been ministering to him. Milholland with almost a steal.
Bailey, baseline turnaround jump shot, got it, and that puts Tim Jumper over the 1,000-point mark in his career in Oxford, Mississippi, and right now it's a 6-6 lockup as Jumper hits the shot that ties it up.
Ole Miss has not changed defenses. They stay with their man-to-man. Vanderbilt looks a little confused right now. They know how to run this half-court game. They've done it very well the first 2 games.
Wilcox holding it high. That's Morgan Wheat, who just a moment ago came in off the Vanderbilt bench, and he was certainly a positive factor in Vandy's big win over top-seeded Georgia last night. In traffic and on the baseline. Wilcox kicks it out. Now Wheat, as a taller Eddie comes out on him. It goes to Milholland. He'll take it to the basket and got the roll.
Good move and good ball movement by Vanderbilt. The one thing they do on that half-court offense is always look for several guys are open on any option they've got in the offense. Now they go back to that 1-3-1 zone. Another looking defense.
Vanderbilt again up by 2, and we might tell you Gerald Glass has gone to the scorer's table and will be coming back in just a moment. Murphy will try from 18. Nothing but the bottom of the net for the 6'11 junior.
It doesn't look pretty, but it goes in. An unusual delivery. Real unusual.
That's that old adage, it's not how you drive, but how you arrive, right?
That one arrived at the bottom of the net.
8-8 to score. Mays being played by Bailey. Milholland thought about it. Wilcox does more than that, and he strips the net.
I've talked about Derek Wilcox in the first 2 games he's played in this SEC tournament, how good he is defensively. Look at this play. See there? Nobody to help jumper. Now it's over and back. Over and back.
Sure is. And Derek Wilcox was the man who caused that. Now Ed Murphy has come up off the Ole Miss bench. He's not happy at all about that call, and he's going to talk to David Dodge about it. Meanwhile, we've got a timeout on the floor as we take a look at it one more time.
What you've got, Marty, is he's in front court. Now, once he goes back,
right,
he had his feet established in the front court. He goes into the back court. It's a turnover.
Vanderbilt with a timeout has a 2-point lead at 10-8, and we'll return in a moment. Vanderbilt owns a 2-point lead over Ole Miss in this first semifinal round of the SEC tournament, 10-8. That was then the drive by Scotty Drow that resulted in the hard fall underneath the basket by All-American Gerald Glass. And if you're an Ole Miss fan, you're happy to know that this is now. Glass is back up off the bench and in the Ole Miss lineup.
You know, the guy that should have been hurt was Joe Harvell. He was on the bottom of that. It was 240 pounds that came careening down on him.
Vandy trying to get more than the 2-point advantage. They control the ball. Grant to Milholland.
Good cut by Wheat.
And Wheat with a right-hand jump hook. He got his own rebound and missed the shot. Now the lead pass up to Glass. Angling back. He overran the dribble. Milholland comes up with the ball. And now they go the other way. Angling cross-courting to Wheat. 4-3. Look at Milholland. The big guy takes it up. Murphy rejects the shot. 45th block of the year for Sean Murphy.
I want to tell you what, Murphy and Eddie are both rejecting a number of shots on the inside. Angling with a good idea not to take that one.
Ball deflected. It's going to be saved by Glass. Driving right to the basket. Lay it up. No, it didn't fall. And an official whistle and a Vanderbilt foul. Orlando Arena, the first semifinal game of the day between the Vanderbilt Commodores and the Ole Miss Rebels in the Southeastern Conference Tournament. With Larry Conley, I'm Marty Brenneman. Early here, 13:52 remaining in the first half. And Vandy with a 2-point lead, but All-American Glass heading toward the Ole Miss free throw line.
When I get the feeling watching this game, we played a little over 6 minutes, that these two clubs are kind of like two boxers who've never boxed before. They're just kind of feeling each other out. So far, Ole Miss has done a pretty good job on the defensive end inside. Eddie and Murphy are both getting up and rejecting a number of shots, and Vandy had a lot of success against Georgia the other night, taking the ball inside against a much bigger Georgia club.
Glass splits the 2 free throws. He now has 3 points, and Ole Miss trails by 1. Vandy, meanwhile, has missed their last 4 shots as they try to maintain the advantage. In the game, they're 4 for 10 from the floor, while Ole Miss the same. 4 hits in 10 tries. Anglin got a screen, but didn't take advantage of it.
They got a switch. Murphy out on Anglin.
And here's a bid for the steal that goes short by Patrick Eddy. Anglin left open. That's a 3-point attempt. The rebound picked off by Ole Miss's Joe Harvell.
Vanderbilt looks like they've changed defenses again. They're back in the man-to-man. Eddie Fogler pulling out all stops.
Murphy to Glass. He has shot in mind. Now backing off. Baseline. Pull it up. Put it up. No good. Out of bounds. And it'll be Vandy ball. Scott Drought and Derek Wilcox coming back for the men of Eddie Fogler. So the first-year coach from Nashville getting his starting guards back on the floor.
I'll tell you the most telling stat about Eddie Fogler I read. He has never had a losing season as a player, as an assistant coach, or as a head coach.
It's amazing. It really is, given all the years, of course, that he's been involved in this game and the fact that he went to Wichita State and, I mean, immediately turned that program around. Ultimately leading to the job in Nashville, and this 3-game winning streak by the Vanderbilt Commodores has him at 16-13. That assures Coach Fogler of keeping that string intact.
Steve Grant down low on the post that time. Murphy with a little bump in the back.
3 team fouls on Ole Miss. Number 1 on Sean Murphy. James Bailey comes back to the Ole Miss lineup. 10-9 to score. The Commodores lead the Rebels.
Ole Miss doing a good job of this defense. I talked about their inside or their interior defense and their rejections of shots. Look at this.
Nice.
Almost got another one.
Grant couldn't get the jump hook to go down. It's out of bounds. It'll be Ole Miss ball.
Marty, even when they're not rejecting the shot, they're causing some problems for Vanderbilt down inside because they've got great jumpers who are providing a lot of obstacles. Yeah, you don't get the shot blocked, but you do provide that really that blocked the look inside.
Nice pass. Good look to Eddie on the pick and roll, and he just laid it in. The junior out of Memphis, Tennessee, who has certainly been a major contributor of late for Coach Ed Murphy's ball club, scores for the first time, and Vandy now finds itself on the short end of an 11-10 game as either Glass or Eddie or both got a hand on the leather.
Interior defense, another block for Ole Miss. It's a real obstacle to have to go in there and have to contend against those guys that can really get up.
Jumper shooting over Wilcox. Morgan Wheat. Wilcox brings it up in traffic.
You know, not only is this a good jumping club, Ole Miss, but they're very strong physically. You can take a look at these guys' arms, their shoulders, and legs. It's a very physical club, and they've gotten better, Marty, as the year has gone on. Yes, they've got a losing record, but I'm going to tell you what, for the last week or two, they're playing as well as anybody in the SEC.
Well, Larry, I guess it always goes back when you talk about clubs that try to work it out so they play their best basketball toward the end of the year, and both of these clubs, without question, are doing that. Vandy trails Ole Miss by 1. Timeout. Back in a moment. 11-10 Ole Miss over Vandy. You see the time remaining. We're in the first half. The announcers for this game are selected and compensated by Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions. This broadcast is a copyright presentation. Any use of this broadcast without the express permission of the Southeastern Conference and Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions is prohibited. Well, you see the shooting right now, nothing to write home about, especially so for Vandy. And the major reason for that figure of 29%, they have missed 8 consecutive shots, the Commodores. Eddie with a turnaround fadeaway over Eric Reed. And Scotty Drought with a rebound. And Gerald Glass, he didn't need to hear the whistle. He knew what he had done. And the pained expression on his face pretty much told the story. A senior doesn't make that play.
His teeth were clenched. He was a little bit of a mock smile, saying, yeah, I know, I did that.
So the first foul on Glass, he just looked over here and grinned. He knew what he did. Vanderbilt gets a chance to get the lead back. Anglin controls. Grant looking.
Marty, watch the inside in here. You'll see Ole Miss's defense really giving Vandy some problems inside. Difficult for them to make screens and cuts down underneath. These are wide bodies in here. They got 5 guys on that floor out there. They're put together pretty well. You're not going to bump them around too easily.
15 seconds on the shot clock, and Vandy really having a problem right now getting off any kind of shot, much less a good one. Here's Wilcox. We're under 10 on the shot clock. He shows up the running one-hander. Eddie had it momentarily. Wilcox knocked it away, goes for the jumper from the pocket, and it's a 3.
Wilcox picked up a loose ball. Something Vanderbilt's done very well in these first 2 games. Need to do a little bit more of that. It's a pesky club, a club that just, it's kind of like a mosquito, a gnat. It won't go away. It just keeps stinging you and biting you. It's the way Vanderbilt's playing in this tournament.
Gerald Glass unable to answer at the other end. Bailey comes out of the pack with the ball. David Midlick now in and working out of the backcourt for Ole Miss.
Great pass by Glass.
Touch pass by Glass to Eddie. He missed and then tipped it in. I'll tell you, the guy's multifaceted, talent-wise. You think so much about scoring, and yesterday a great case in point, 28 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. He is a player who can truly do it all, Gerald Glass.
A lot of NBA scouts here looking at him. I will promise you that.
Now Derek Wilcox goes flat on his back. A foul was called against Ole Miss. That'll be against Bailey as Sean Murphy comes back in for the Rebels. Charles Mays and Todd Milholland replace Steve Grant and Scotty Drought.
Gerald Glass is the #2 active leading scorer in the NCAA right now. And #1, Guy LaSalle, Lionel Simmons.
Pretty good talent in his own right.
Yes, sir. We may be talking about 2 lotteries right there. Ed Murphy, he had his coat off before the game started.
Yes, he did.
Tie undone, button at the top loosened. Ed doesn't want to be uncomfortable on the bench. He wants to make sure he's loose, ready to go. Never know when he's going to be called upon to have to storm that sideline.
He's not politicking to be the cover boy in Gentleman's Quarterly.
Vanderbilt again with a half-court offense. Wilcox with a steal the last time on an Ole Miss rebound.
13-13 to score, 9:35 remaining in the first half. Eric Reed, Todd Milholland, and now Wilcox matched up against David Midlick. They go to Reed inside, one head fake. He kicks it back to Milholland, putting it up and in.
Yeah, Glass really got burned that time. He tried to go and help, and when he did, he left Milholland wide open. Todd Milholland can shoot that shot. He's a big kid. He's got good range. He can go out 18, 20 feet.
And when you consider the kind of interior defense that Ole Miss is playing right now, Vanderbilt's got to start hitting some of those outside shots.
Marty, I really think right now Vanderbilt needs to change their emphasis on their offense. They've had success on the inside. Right now they need to think about going back to the outside, where Drought and Wilcox and Anglin have really carried them with their outside shooting. I say Anglin only in the tournament because he has not had a good year shooting from the outside during the year. Here's the move. Watch this ball almost roll in. That thing was down deep enough. Now look at Murphy with a follow. A tip on the rim. Maybe that might have been offensive goaltending.
You're right. And Murphy working the officials, as he normally will after watching the replay on the massive scoreboard above center court. There's a whistle, and they have just hit Murphy with a technical foul.
Well, he evidently carried it a little too far.
He's going to get his money's worth right now.
Watch the move down inside. Now, this was on the other end. Now, watch Murphy go right up with the ball right on the edge of the rim. That is really close.
Real close. Ole Miss fans not happy. Scott Drought puts it up, and uncharacteristically, he has won for his first three.
Starts to play on your mind a little bit, too.
Drought has 4 points. Vandy will get the ball as they open up a three-point lead now at 16-13, and Ed Murphy still not a happy camper. Drought for three. Ooh, all the way in, all the way out. Eric Reed put it up and in.
That's something Eric Reed has done well in the first two games. His offensive rebounding. Marty, they absolutely destroyed Georgia on the boards last night. And really, it was Reed that led the charge along with Kevin Anglin. Reed's had a good tournament.
Here's Harbell. He finally breaks the drought as he hits the turnaround jump shot, and it's a three-point game again. Vandy 18, Ole Miss 15.
Got to get Harbell involved in that offensive lineup. He really is a strong offensive player.
Scott Drought kicking it off to Eric Reed, and now to Weed on top.
So far, Vanderbilt with 5 offensive rebounds, and Ole Miss has 4.
Milholland, one dribble, put it up. Rebounded by Ole Miss. Harbell picks it off.
Boy, is he a good-looking player.
Yes, sir.
You know, they list him as 6'7". No, he doesn't look that big to me. Looks like he's closer to 6'5.5", maybe 6'6". Hey, one thing he can do, though, he can play. He can get up on that backboard.
Well, he's going to put it up again. All of a sudden, Joe Harbell starting to tune up. 18-17. He's had 2 straight Rebel field goals, and Ole Miss down by a point.
Vanderbilt can run this offense in their sleep. They've got it down pat. Ole Miss has not changed their defense at all. A straight man-to-man.
Drought tries to get closer. Stalked by the taller Bailey. Now to Eric Reed, and he's right there to put it up and in.
Milholland acting as almost a block for him. He kind of screened off everybody to allow him to get that one extra dribble towards the rim.
Vandy's lead goes back to 3 with 7:06 to go in the first half.
Here comes another look on defense. It's like a 2-1-2.
Harbell said, I'll try the 3, and he is still dry from that area. Rebounded by Milholland to Anglin, and he threw it away, trying to hit the breaking Morgan Wheat.
Checking in for Vanderbilt.
Patrick Eddy has come back. Tim Jumper also for Ole Miss, and there will be fresh bodies on the floor for the Vanderbilt Commodores. However, a timeout has been called. Ed Murphy still working the officials with 6:54 to go in the half. His club, the Rebels, trailing the Commodores by 3.
Commodores are up on the Rebels by 3. 6:54 left to go in the first half. Let's take a little bit of look at this Vanderbilt motion offense. Now look how Ole Miss really jams it up on the inside. And watch the cut by Milholland right here on the top. He'll go down underneath. There's a screen by Reed. Now watch him work his way to the other side. Get himself in a good post-up position. He's got glass on his backside. Wheel to the baseline, turn, put up the jumper. It comes right off the backside, and Harbell right there for the rebound. They run the motion offense well, Marty, and they usually get a very good shot off of it.
This reminder, coming up at halftime, we'll have the Budweiser scoreboard with scores from the Southeastern Conference and other schools around the nation. Stay with us for Bob Kessling and A whole lot of information coming up on what's going on in collegiate basketball at the most important time of the year. That's at halftime.
Little March Madness?
Yes, sir.
You kind of like that, don't you?
I really do. Turnover. Anglin. Boy, when they write the book on this 1989-90 season relative to Vanderbilt, Kevin Anglin will have a good portion of it, and he hits the jump shot.
I told Eddie Fogler last night, I said, I don't know where you got this kid. He says, I love him. I absolutely love him. He should.
And I think what he likes more than anything is the fact that he's looking at 3 more years of coaching this kid. He's only a freshman.
Well, you know, he did not have a good shooting night last night. I mean, he was very poor from the field, but his rebounding and his floor game really carried it, I thought, for Vanderbilt. Plus the fact that I thought Wilcox did an outstanding defensive job on Green.
22-17. That's the biggest lead either team has enjoyed, and Vanderbilt has it with just under 6 to go in the half. Murphy looking for help. It was deflected by Grant and picked off, you got it, Kevin Anglin. Here's a drive, a nice dish off inside. Reed couldn't get it to go down, but Eddie got him, and that's foul number 1 on Patrick Eddy.
And as usual, there were a lot of Vanderbilt hands touching that basketball before the shot went off. Down inside, Anglin coming up with it in the corner. He hits Wilcox. Wilcox looks, no shot. Reed on the left side, pump fake. There's Eddie right there with the foul. Marty, that's the one thing Vanderbilt has done very well in this tournament is that a lot of guys are touching the ball before it goes up. I was noticing the end in their first 2 basketball games. They get a lot of assists on their shots. I think it's a good mark of a club when you get a lot of assists on your shots.
Here's Eric Reed, another good free throw shooter for Vanderbilt, but that's the rule rather than the exception. They set an SEC tournament record last night by hitting 32 free throws. And you could really see it coming, Larry. You had the game when it got to that point in time, even in regulation, when all of a sudden they were going to the free throw line with regularity, and you just felt that Georgia was in deep trouble.
Ole Miss is in a little trouble right now, down 7.
24-17. Here's the shot, and it looked like he lost control of it going up, Gerald Glass, and all of a sudden, Vanderbilt coming up with loose basketballs.
As I said, they're like a gnat. They just keep coming after you. They just won't leave you alone. They'll get the loose balls, the offensive rebounds. They'll make a big play. Somebody will step out. It's one of those role players you haven't seen all season. They'll do something spectacular. This guy right here has been doing it.
Anglin, he forced a pass inside, and Vandy able to keep it as Grant wings it back outside, and that'll be a Vanderbilt turnover. That's 4 times now the Commodores have turned the ball over. Leading by 7 with exactly 5 minutes on the clock here in the first half.
Pretty good first half if you only got 4 turnovers after 15 minutes of play.
Well, they went to sleep momentarily on Bailey. Jumper dishes it off. Eddie wasn't ready for it, but Bailey took it on the rebound and laid it in.
Those were 2 chest passes, and I don't mean from the arms. I mean they came off of the chest of 2 guys.
24-19. Ole Miss down by 5 now as Wilcox and Anglin attack.
Here comes that motion offense again now. Ole Miss doing a good job defensively. Look at the pressure Glass on Anglin. Jumper all over Wilcox.
Pretty good battle going on inside between Eric Reed and Patrick Eddy. Wilcox plays it off to Reed. He looks for the basket, sighted it, and was fouled.
Marty, the difficulty in handling the motion offense are those horizontal screens across the lane. Now look at Wilcox take the look inside. Eddie got screened on one side, and Glass had to come in and try to help, and he's the one who committed the foul. Grant really set a block right on Eddie to free him. And now Reed will go to the line for some free throws.
As you see, foul number 2 on Gerald Glass. Reed, already a successful venture to that spot. He's 2 out of 2, and he has scored 6 points.
Really puts a lot of pressure on your defense when you know you're going to get screens, backside and front side.
Morgan Wheat back in and off the Vanderbilt bench. So Reed has hit 4 in a row as Todd Milholland checks in for Vanderbilt and Steve Grant leaves. Vandy now 6 out of 8 from the free throw line. Ole Miss 1 out of 2. And it's a 26-19 ball game. Vandy for the second time enjoys a lead of 7.
Commodores into a 1-3-1. Not an aggressive trapping 1-3-1, a very passive zone. Trying to jam up that middle. Keep the ball to the outside and force Ole Miss to beat them against this particular zone.
they have another one where they trap out of this. They'll go to the wings and the point and in the corners and trap with it. This time Eddie Fogler just wants it as a zone, just jamming it up in there.
Gerald Glass goes to the corner, and James Bailey. They've got Harbell open, at least for the moment, but now Reed checks him out with 5 seconds on the shot clock. The jumper fails by Glass. Bailey misses. Rebounded by Milholland. Here's Wilcox, and here comes Vandy again. Baseline from Wheat. Got it.
Boy, did Wilcox run that break to perfection. He went right down the middle, drew the defense to him, and Morgan Wheat says, throw it here, I'm wide open.
9-point Commodore lead at 28-19. Gerald Glass whipping it across for the three by Harbell. Vandy ball.
Foul. I think we got a foul. Glass.
Well, that really puts a crimp in Ed Murphy's game plan. Gerald Glass, he's not even looking. All he's doing is walking toward that Ole Miss bench. His third personal foul, and let's see if he's going to come out. Apparently not.
Oh, he did foul. There was no doubt about that particular call. John Clougherty there to make the call. Big John went down a couple of times this year. In fact, broke a couple of ribs in a game. A guy ran over the top of him from Navy. I saw him a month later. Some guy stepped on his foot and ran over him. I said, John, this is getting to be a dangerous profession for you.
7 of 9 now from the line for Vanderbilt. We made the point yesterday in Ole Miss's win over Tennessee concerning how Gerald Glass goes, so go the Ole Miss Rebels. In their 12 wins, he has shot 58% from the floor. In their 16 losses, he has shot 45%. Today, 1 field goal in 4 attempts.
Okay, Vandy changes defenses again now. They're back into a man-to-man. You know, it really forces your offense to think because you have to look and see what kind of defense you're going to be attacking. It forces you to come out and look at your offense. Bailey with a good layup on the inside.
Second field goal for James Bailey, and it's 29-21. Vanderbilt's lead stands at 8. You think back to yesterday and how well Ole Miss shot it from three-point territory. Today, they are 0 for 4, while Vandy has had 2 hits and 5 tries. Eric Reed bending low, giving it off to Mays, and turning it over to Wheat.
They're doing so much screening down inside, they almost screened each other. Vanderbilt running the half-court offense. Ole Miss doing a pretty good job defense. Wheat with the cut.
Yes, sir. Couldn't get the roll, but the tip-in goes by Milholland.
Marty, even when they miss the shot, they've got so many people around the basket to follow it up. Now they've got a 10-point lead.
31-21. 2 minutes to go in half number 1. An impressive first-half performance up to this point for Eddie Fogler's Vanderbilt Commodores, trying to get to the championship game of the SEC tournament tomorrow. Here's Patrick Getty, the kick back to jumper, looking for 3. Didn't get it. The follow shot by Harbell after the pass from Bailey. No, the ball rolling off the iron, and a Vandy foul. Morgan Wheat and Harbell will be at the free throw line.
That time Ole Miss got on the backboard. A good flurry inside. What's the good bounce pass? The good move. Look at Ole Miss keep it alive. Look at Murphy up there tipping it around. There's the call on the outside.
They want to talk about it, that being a timeout. 1:42 on the first half clock. Vanderbilt, a 10-point lead over Ole Miss, and we'll be back. This half of SEC tournament action is brought to you in part by Apple Computer, the power to be your best. Vanderbilt, 10-point lead. Only 1:42 remaining in half number 1 here at beautiful Orlando Arena. We were talking about 3-point proficiency by the Ole Miss Rebels. That is almost unbelievable, Larry, over the course of a season, and then lighting it up like they have in the tournament. Yet today, they've been dry.
Now they're looking at another different defense from Vanderbilt. Looks like they've set up in a 2-3. Marty, you and I talked about this at the break. You really have to have a point guard who gets your offense in gear immediately. You work on these offenses all year long, but Vanderbilt has shown so many different kinds of defenses, and they just got a steal.
They certainly did. It's Charles Mays with the ball 7 times now. Ole Miss has turned the ball over. Mays left open for 3. The long rebound controlled by the little guy, Matthews. They've got the numbers, Ole Miss, and they convert.
Good move by Ole Miss. They got the long rebound. They had a 4-on-1 break and took advantage of it.
31-23. 8-point separation. Exactly 60 seconds remaining.
I really think if this becomes a half-court game, Vanderbilt's going to be the club that's going to win. If it becomes a full-court game, Ole Miss really is better in transition than Vanderbilt. Well, Vandy runs this half-court offense so well. They're so well drilled and really disciplined. They set good screens. They rub their man off. They get the good fake. And Milholland just got one.
Couldn't take advantage of it after the head fake got the big guy, Eddie, airborne. And now they're going to go ahead and play for the final shot. The shot clock is dark. We've got 26 seconds remaining in the half, and they're going to have the lead at halftime, whether it be what it is right now, 8 or possibly more. Morgan Wheat just standing outside, eyeing the clock.
Now the pressure. Wilcox can handle it.
10 seconds, 9, 8, 7. They go to it. He drives a lane, rejected by Eddie, and it's out of bounds. And they'll have it a shot at it one more time with just 1/10 of a second, above 4 seconds remaining in the first half.
Watch this. Early on, they were getting a lot of these rejections. Ole Miss was against Vanderbilt. When they bring it in there, they tried one more time before the end of the half. And I'll tell you what, the road still is hard to travel down there.
Boy, I'm telling you it is. Here's Morgan Wheat. He got him airborne, missed the jump shot, and that is it. The Vanderbilt Commodores are 20 minutes away from moving to the SEC Tournament Championship game tomorrow against the winner of game number 2 this afternoon, Alabama and Auburn. And I can tell, Larry, by the way you've been talking, you're very impressed with the way they've done things, the Commodores, today.
I am very impressed. The fact they've won 2 games and playing their 3rd one in less than 48 hours. And they've basically done it with their half-court offense. They've done a good job of running it. They've gotten the open shots. And they've done a good job of shutting Ole Miss down with those different defenses.
Well, our colleague is standing by. Bob Kessling, it's yours.
Thanks very much, Marty. An impressive first half for the Vanderbilt Commodores. You know, after yesterday's game, I asked Scott Drought, I said, are you getting a little tired? You played 2 games in 2 days. He said, heck, I can play all weekend. We're not tired. We're having fun and playing on adrenaline. And they played very well in the first half as the Vanderbilt Commodores lead Ole Miss at halftime, 31-23. Lots of things coming up at halftime. We'll be back to take a look at those things. Our halftime score is Vanderbilt 31-23. We'll have scores. We'll also have Bob Weltlich here to analyze the first half and statistics and highlights. We'll be back to the Orlando Arena. Vanderbilt leads at halftime over the Ole Miss Rebels, 31-23. We'll return after this word from Pepsi. Welcome back to the Orlando Arena. I'm Bob Kessling with former Ole Miss coach Bob Weltlich. Of course, the last time the Rebels won this SEC tournament, Bob Weltlich was the head coach. Rebels today going up against a very smart and patient Vanderbilt team.
Well, I think that's characteristic of Vanderbilt, and I think it surprised a lot of people. They had the midseason slump, but, you know, they've won 4 of their last 5, and they're playing very well. And it's interesting that their older players, Derek Wilcox and Eric Reed, are coming to the surface, and that's what you expect in a tournament like this. Reed has played particularly well, and we're going to pick up a shot of him and talk about, you know, some of the things that he did. But aside from him playing well inside, they've done a terrific job defensively, particularly on Harvell and Glass. Of course, Glass having an injury early and then picking up his 3rd foul, which is obviously a key to the game. But Vanderbilt has stayed with what they do best. They've spread it around, and on the other side, with Glass in foul trouble and Harvell not having the kind of day that he had yesterday, Tim Jumper has stepped forward. Got his 1,000th point as an Ole Miss Rebel. Continues to play, I think, much better now that he is no longer playing with the knee brace. And he's a guy that will have to play for them well, although Gerald Glass has to get on track and have a big second half.
In the game yesterday, Glass had 24 points. Glass had 28. Harvell had 24. Basically, what is Vanderbilt doing to get them out of the flow of things?
Well, they're guarding. And I mean, that really sounds funny, but we talked yesterday that Harvell is a step-up jump shooter. And he really doesn't put the ball on the floor very well, and yet repeatedly yesterday he had the opportunity to do what he does best. Whereas today, Vanderbilt has elected not to help off Harvell into the low post, and they've taken their chances in there with straight matchups. As a result, he has not been able to get the step-up jumper, and that has really affected his game.
First game of our SEC semifinal contest. The Vanderbilt Commodores are on top by 8. We'll be back to the Orlando Arena with the SEC semifinals in just a moment. There's your halftime score. The Vanderbilt Commodores 20 minutes away from going to the SEC Tournament Championship game. They lead the Rebels by 8. Welcome back to the Orlando Arena. I'm Bob Kessling. This is our first semifinal game. Later on will be the Auburn Tigers against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Tom Hammond and Bob Weltlich will call that game. Tom has joined us along with Coach. Tom, the second game looks like an interesting matchup. Alabama is the only team that survived the upset onslaught yesterday.
The only one of the favorites left, and I don't know if that puts any undue pressure on them or not, but everyone is expecting them to win. They swept Auburn in the regular season, won fairly handily if you look at the final scores, although the games were a bit closer than it would appear. But if we can ask Bob Weltlich to mentally shift gears a little bit and think about that second game, I was just pondering Auburn and Alabama. It seems like two teams that really reflect the personalities of their coaches.
Well, I don't think there's any question about that, Tom. You know, they're both determined. They're both very competitive. Of course, Wimp has historically gotten it done on the defensive end. Maybe more because he's had to than he's wanted to, simply because his backcourt hasn't shot the ball well. The matchup that I find interesting is that you've got an inside game in Alabama against Auburn's perimeter play. And, you know, I don't think there is a psychological advantage realistically. I just think that Alabama is a tournament-tested team. They've been to the finals of this tournament 6 of the 11 times they've played in it since its renewal. And yet you hope for Auburn's sake that they didn't leave it all in the court yesterday. I just don't know how you come back from an emotional game like that and put it together, but I'm guessing that playing their interstate rivalry will really help in that regard.
Yeah, it was an emotional win over LSU, but they are playing their fierce rivals, and let's face it, they've got nothing to lose. I mean, there's not much pressure on them. Anything that they get from now is gravy to their season.
Well, I think the pressure lies with Alabama. They're assuredly in the NCAA tournament. But on the other hand, you know, Auburn has gotten through that first game, which nobody expected them to do. Hey, it's just that they've got to be out here today having fun. And I'm not sure how much fun, you know, Wimp has on a daily basis, but I know Tommy Joe will be having fun today, especially if they can pull the upset.
Well, Wimp has fun when he wins games, and of course he's done a lot of that in the SEC tournament. And again, back to the personalities, I think it's Wimp's personality that doesn't allow his team to take anyone lightly or to relax even though they know they're in the big tournament.
Well, you know, we've joked all year long about Wimp, but realistically, the thing about it is that he has a great coaching mind and has done a super job. So, you know, that's kind of the summation of the thing, and I know we want to throw it back to Bob Kessling, but in the final analysis, it'll make for a great matchup, and I hope everybody will stay back and sit back and enjoy it as much as we're going to calling the game.
Should be a good second game.
Okay, Tom, you guys have a good call. We got another game, second 20 minutes coming up in this contest. It's the Vanderbilt Commodores and the Ole Miss Rebels of the SEC semifinals. Next, Auburn and Alabama will continue from the Orlando Arena, with at halftime Vanderbilt leading the Ole Miss Rebels 31-23. We'll have more in just a moment. Now it's time for the Budweiser scoreboard, brought to you by Budweiser Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp paste. This Bud's for you. In the ACC tournament, Clemson, the team that won the regular season championship, is leading Virginia in the first half, 16-15. Out in the Big East, just getting started, 5th-ranked Georgetown, tied up with 8th-ranked Connecticut. Also on the Budweiser scoreboard in the Metro tournament, Louisville knocking off Southern Miss early in the first half, 19-17. Of course, there are many other college games going on. We'll keep you updated on those actions, and also the contest here at the Orlando Arena. The first game of the SEC semifinals. Vanderbilt leading the Ole Miss Rebels 31-23. We'll have more at halftime in just a moment.
JP Sports exclusive coverage of the Pepsi SEC Game of the Week is brought to you by Pepsi-Cola and your local Pepsi bottler. By the Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company. For insurance and financial services, better call JP. By Buick and your Buick dealer. The great American road belongs to Buick. By Budweiser, the king of beers. Remember, know when to say when. By Delta, the airline of SEC country. We love to fly, and it shows. By Infiniti, who invites you to test drive the Q45 sedan or M30 Sports Coupe. By Lowe's, America's #1 lumber and building materials store. And by Gulf and BP, makers of high-octane, high-performance gasoline.
Teams are back on the floor. Second half just about set to start. Vanderbilt leads Ole Miss 31-23. Here to call the second half again for you, Marty Brenneman and Larry Connolly.
Thank you, Bob. Larry, I guess one of the overriding factors, we certainly talked about it in the first half, Ole Miss's inability to adjust to the many defenses that Vandy's throwing at them.
Well, it's hurt them desperately because I don't think they've been able to get in gear. It really helps when you got a point guard who gets you into the offense quickly. They haven't found anybody who's been able to do that so far in this basketball game.
Let's take a look at the numbers, the Lowe's halftime stats, and see how these ball clubs fared in the first 20 minutes. Neither team shot the ball very well.
No, they really didn't. 38%. You look at the free throws, 7 of 10 for Vanderbilt, and Ole Miss has only been to the line twice. Three-point field goals is a big stat. Over 5, a club that shot 40% during the year from three-point range. Rebounding about dead even. Turnovers only 4 for Vanderbilt in that first half. That's a big change for them. Points off of turnovers. Vandy's been able to convert more than Ole Miss.
Offensively, as we take a look at the individual scoring, once again it's a case of Eddie Fogler getting a lot of people involved and a lot of people involved in the scoring, with Reed leading the way with 8 points. Nobody in foul trouble for Vandy. And I guess the 3 that jumps out at you is a point total of 1 Gerald Glass in the first half. Obviously, they have got to get him involved big time. He's playing with 3 fouls.
Well, as the second leading scorer in the Southeastern Conference, averaging 25 points a game, you can't have your big gun with only 3 at halftime. He's going to have to turn it up a notch in the second half.
Here we go. 7-point, 31-23, 8-point Vandy lead. Scotty Trout, somewhat quiet in the first half of play with only 4 points. Reed, as we mentioned, the high man with 8.
Marty, the thing I'm going to keep an eye on, I want to see how Vanderbilt's going to handle it. You got to start thinking fatigue right now. They don't want to think about it as a player. You just keep on playing your game and keep doing the things you do well, like Brown just did.
Nice fadeaway, high arching jump shot by the native of Crestview Hills, Kentucky. And for the 3rd time in the game, Vandy jumps up by 10.
You're close to there, aren't you? Crestview Hills?
I ride by his exit to his house on the interstate every time I go to the airport.
Ole Miss back in their half-court game. Almost a steal by Anglin. Glass missed it.
And the follow shot goes by Patrick Eddy. 33-25.
Now jumper out top on Wilcox. Now watch this Vanderbilt half-court game. As long as Ole Miss stays in this man-to-man defense, Vanderbilt's going to run this half-court game, and they run it to perfection.
Stroud, he'll try for 3. That one way off the mark, and a big, strong rebound by the freshman Harvell. Tim Jumper, rather, kicks it back outside to Harvell, and Stroud, is he able to save it? No, as he tried to tightrope his way along the sideline. Had he been able to stay in bounds, he had an uncontested layup.
Going right down the line. Look at the steal right here, or attempted steal. Almost got it. The left foot hit the line, and the right foot, so he had both of them there.
Ball deflected by Wilcox. Reed, Wilcox, up ahead, Anglin, shooting, and whoa, it came off.
It hit every part of that rim.
It really did. It took the grand tour, and it was interesting to watch Glass. He was going to let him have it. Cannot afford to pick up a 4th foul this early. He drives, he shoots, he scores, and he'll be on the free throw line.
I don't know if they're going to count the goal, Marty. I think they're maybe going to give the ball out of bounds. They're going to wave it off and say it's a common foul. Anglin with a push just before he started up in the air. It's about as good a move as we've seen Gerald Glass make today. He went strong and he went powerful to the basket that time. Good trap again by Vanderbilt. Another look on defense.
Glass will put it up for 3. Inside position and a big rebound for Steve Grant. Wilcox cross-courting to Anglin. He's looking for somebody open inside. Grant dropped his shoulder. He decks his man. No whistle. And here comes Ole Miss. Jumper.
With a jumper. Nice move down the right side. I said this at the top of the show and also during the first half that I really feel like this is a better club. Ole Miss is in transition than they are in a half-court game. Vandy does that much better than they do.
And what was a 10-point Vandy lead is now dwindled down to 6 at 33-27. Grant handles against the defense of James Bailey. Now Anglin, he'll put it up for 3. And it's picked off inside by Bailey.
Vandy a little cold to start the second half. Ole Miss is starting to make a little bit of a run here.
In traffic, Jumper got the shot off. It goes, and he'll be called for the charge. They'll count the basket as Anglin got position on him, but count the hoop by Tim Jumper, and Tim picks up his 2nd foul.
Marty, in a college basketball game, if you release the basketball before you make contact, they'll give you the basket. Hard to tell from that angle, but let's take a look at it from up top. Did he release? No, he made the contact first. It was close.
Jumper having another good shooting day, 5 out of 8. And over the last 10 games, he's been shooting at a 50% clip from the field. 33 to 29. The team badly in need. There's
great
a backdoor cut. Wilcox.
What a great cut. Ideal time.
35-29. Vandy with a great cut by Wilcox, and he has scored now 7 in the afternoon. They work it low to Eddie. He just banks it up and in. It'll be a 3-point opportunity for the junior from Memphis.
Starting to see signs of Ole Miss's offense beginning to get on track. They're starting to get the basketball to the inside. Patrick Eddy with a pretty good shot right there. Good lob right over the top of Eric Reed, and he just took it and laid it right off the glass. What's the good pass? Good lob. Caught Reed napping. Eddy right there to stick it back in. Reed knowing fully well he was there for the foul, and his second one of the afternoon.
Well, here's Eddie with 8 points, his first time on the free throw line. The Arkansas State transfer misses, and there's Reed to claim the Vandy rebound. 35-31. Commodores led by 8 at the break. They jump quickly out in front by 10, but Ole Miss, as Larry pointed up, showing signs of rallying. And that's a rally breaker as Milholland fires one in from outside.
Every time Ole Miss makes a run, Vanderbilt has somebody who answers. Milholland steps out 15 feet and buries it.
In the second half, 4 for 7 Ole Miss from the field. Vanderbilt now 3 out of 7.
Reed was wide open underneath. Mays open. Bingo.
Three-pointer by Charles Mays, his first field goal of the day, and he makes it a big one. And just like that, Vandy jumps out by 9.
M&M boys, Milholland and Mays.
Baseline jumper, Harvell, and he gets nothing but net.
Yeah, I'm starting to see good signs now. Ole Miss's offense is beginning to get on track. Starting to shoot the ball a lot better.
We've really not gotten Gerald Glass involved big time in it as yet. 3 points at halftime. He's yet to score in the second half. The reach around by Reed. The tip fails. The ball is loose and is picked up by Eddie of Ole Miss. Harvell lost it as he started up. And there's Wilcox. Double team. He needs help. He flings it to the midcourt line, and Scott Stroud. Stroud will put it up and in.
They had the trap, but they had 3 guys trapping. Don't ever trap with more than 2, because if you go with 3 and he gets the ball out of there, you are in big, hot water.
As Ole Miss was, 42-33. They cut it to 4. They're looking now at a 9-point deficit again. Flashing across the lane, Harvell. 8-point afternoon for Joe Harvell, and here's Wilcox controlling to Milholland. Stroud in the left corner. A good reverse dribble, getting off the jump shot, didn't quite get there.
Another loose ball for Vandy.
And Mays will go for 3 again.
Patrick Eddy doing a pretty good job on the backboard in the second half. And Vandy changes defenses again. Looks like they're in a man-to-man now. Stroud's going to jump out top on Bailey. Wilcox has got jumper.
They work it in heavy traffic. Nice pass by Glass to Eddie.
Well, Marty, you talked about it in the first half, but this guy can pass the basketball. He can rebound it. He can shoot it. It gives you some indication of his abilities right there to turn, wheel, look inside and see the guy and kick it to a teammate.
Larry, I'll tell you what I like about him. He is a totally unselfish player. He will give the ball up. Here's Reed backing in, turning, shooting. No good. It's banged off the board. There's Glass. They've got a 3-on-2 break. Glass kicks it off to Eddie. There's another dandy pass.
2 assists in a row now for Gerald Glass. He may not be getting it done on the scoring end, but he's doing it on the other end, and that's passing and getting the ball to the open man.
Here come the Rebels again. 42-39. Their fans now start to get in on the action.
Is Vandy going to make the answer? They have on 2 occasions in this second half.
Milholland flashes to the top of the key. Bailey has him. There's Stroud. He's open. He's shooting. Didn't get it. And another rebound. And all of a sudden, Vanderbilt getting 1 shot.
Eddie takes a look at Glass inside. He's going to return the favor, but Glass couldn't get open. Now he is. Not back.
There it is again.
3 assists in a row for Gerald Glass.
Wilcox saves it, or did he? No, he did not. It'll be Ole Miss ball. And you talk about the momentum swinging. Thanks to the passing of Gerald Glass to Patrick Eddy. It's a 1-point game, and there is a time out on the floor. 12:52 to go in it, a one-point encounter. Vanderbilt hanging on with a 42-41 lead. Vanderbilt by 1. Ole Miss really turning things around, and lately it's been the Patrick Eddy, Gerald Glass show.
And the Gerald Glass show has been all year the scoring, but he can do a lot more than that. Look at this great pass to the inside to Patrick Eddy. Gerald Glass with 3 assists in this second half has gotten the Ole Miss Rebels back within 1.
That's the kind of shooting that Ole Miss has enjoyed here in the second half, and Patrick Eddy has scored 10 of their 18 second half points and 14 for the game.
I'll tell you what, with a lot of help from his friend.
Jumper off to Glass. Harvell to Eddy high and right back to Glass. Ole Miss bidding to gain the lead with 12.5 minutes remaining. The jumper off the baseline, and everybody standing around and watching that ball come off.
Marty, that was a great screen off by Vanderbilt. Milholland just would not let Eddy get to the basketball. Both guys screened their man off. Great block out by Vandy.
Vandy needs a basket in the worst way right here. There's Morgan Wheat. He's checked by the big guy Eddy. Milholland. Wheat, he wants to take it to the hole and dishes it off in heavy traffic. And very wisely, Anglin brought it back out. Grant drops it in.
Every time you look up, it's somebody different for Vanderbilt contributing a big basket. And that time it was Steve Grant.
And it's his first field goal in the ball game. 44-41.
Excuse me, Vandy back into a 1-3-1. Interesting they got Jumper and Glass out on the top of this zone right now.
Three. Went in, came out. Eddy, too strong.
Well, he's had a good second half, Marty.
Yes, he has. Wilcox with a wraparound. And there's Grant from 15 feet away. He's hit 2 in a row.
I'm telling you, you got so many heroes on this club, you don't know where to look. Who's going to come up next? Who's going to float to the top and do something spectacular?
Jumper. Let's see what he can do from the outside. Eddy and Grant getting tied up with each other, and Harvell still dry from three-point land. Anglin with a rebound. Steve Grant in his last 12 games has, from the field, shot at an 83.7 clip. He got it back and he scores again.
3 in a row.
That is 37 out of his last 44 attempts from the field. Grant has scored. And after that tremendous run by Ole Miss, all of a sudden, Vanderbilt turns it right back in its favor. 10:44 remaining. Vandy by 7, 48-41. Vanderbilt getting contributions from a lot of folks right now, leading again by 7, 48-41.
Marty, to start the second half, it was Scott Drought who really got him started. Now Steve Grant, the block on the inside right there by Jumper. He got it right back, and Steve Grant on his 3rd field goal of the second half, and he's gotten him 3 in a row.
They're the imposing numbers we talked about just a moment ago. This reminder, stay tuned. At the conclusion of today's game, we'll be selecting a Gulf Most Valuable Player from each team. John Matthews now in the lineup for Ole Miss, along with James Bailey, Joe Harvell, Patrick Eddy, and Gerald Glass. We've got a foul against Vanderbilt. Bailey sandwiched in between 2 defenders. 10 minutes and 36 seconds remaining in the first semifinal game of this 1990 Southeastern Conference basketball tournament with Larry Conley. I'm Marty Brenneman, and right now Vandy with a 7-point lead, 48-41. The Commodores were up 8 at the break. Ole Miss pulled to within 1, and that basket, a 2-pointer by Joe Harvell, makes it 48-44 as the Rebels trail by 4.
You know, Ole Miss has not changed defenses one time in this basketball game, and we've seen at least 8 from Vanderbilt.
Do you see a better read now by Ole Miss as opposed to what appeared to be confusion in the first half?
Well, I'm not sure if they've done anything. They haven't done anything differently, and here's a foul right here by Harvell. The one thing Vanderbilt's been able to do and capitalize on, 2 areas. One, good defense because they've changed it and changed it well. And secondly, their half-court offense, they just executed to perfection. They didn't shoot well in the first half, but they were able to pick up a lot of loose balls.
Ed Murphy giving Patrick Eddy a breather. He's had 10 of his 14 points here in the second half. And the son of the coach, Sean Murphy, back on the floor for the Rebels. Anglin comes off of a screen, gets close, puts up a runner, no good. He battles for the rebound and got it, but he was stepping on the end line.
I thought they were going to come up with another loose ball.
48-44 Vandy. Make it 48-43, a 5-point deficit. Matthews to Glass, only 3 points for the Ole Miss All-American. He will try for 3, and just not quite enough as Eric Reed comes off with the Vanderbilt rebound.
Well, Gerald Glass really having a very difficult time shooting the ball today from the field. He's getting good shots. I mean, they haven't been contested.
Only 1 field goal for Glass in 8 attempts. He's got a string of, 58 consecutive double-figure games, Gerald Glass, that could very well be in big-time jeopardy. Morgan Wheat to Kevin Anglin.
Again, they go back to that half-court game. Watch the screens, look for the jump shot. They'll look for the 15, 18-foot jump shot or try to free somebody underneath.
9 minutes remaining in the game. Reed off to Wilcox, baseline, the big kid Murphy with him. There's a pass inside to Grant, and he was hacked and fouled by James Bailey.
Again, Marty, they reverse the basketball, go down the right side. Now look at the pass. Here comes Murphy with a double team. Wilcox gets it inside. Grant's right there, and there's the foul on the inside. Excellent ball movement again, and Bailey commits the foul.
3 team fouls against Ole Miss. Charles Mays back in the lineup for Vandy. Inbounds, and they went to sleep, the defense. And Eric Reed burns him with a slam, and he was fouled on the play.
It's almost like a clinic. Eddie Vogler sets up his out-of-bounds play, runs it to perfection. Look at the screen. Look at Reed. Murphy gets hung up on his own man. Reed right there, and Murphy with a foul. That's exactly the way you draw it up October the 15th and hope it works in March.
Do tell, Coach. Reed on the free throw line. Larry, I got to ask you, you see a lot of basketball all over the country. Are we looking at the same offense? Obviously, almost a carbon copy of what Dean Smith does at Carolina, and is it the same for Roy Williams at Kansas?
It really is. The only difference is that those guys have a little bit better talent. But today, I'm going to promise you, there isn't anybody executing it any better than what Vandy's been doing.
51-43, jumper, baseline. Here's Bailey with a turnaround jump shot off the mark, rebounded by Vanderbilt. They had a brief breakdown after the second half started, but boy, have they gotten it together again. Look at Grant shooting in traffic, and Murphy rakes it off for the Rebels. Here's Glass, lost it going up, hits the deck, fouled, and he'll be on the free throw line.
Foul is on number 31 for Vanderbilt.
First foul on Steve Grant. Coming back, Todd Milholland along with Scott Stroud. And Grant will leave along with Anglin. It is not surprising, as we talked about at halftime, with so many people getting in on the scoring act today for Vandy. This ball club leads the Southeastern Conference in bench scoring, an average of 29.6 points a game. The contribution from their bench.
You know, they've got 11 players dressed out today, and only 8 of them really play. And I think that Eddie Fogler has done a masterful job of substituting when he has to substitute. You've always got to be aware of when guys are getting tired, fatigued. You've got to watch that along with watching what the other team is doing.
Vanderbilt's bench has outscored the Rebels today 14-4. It's 51-45 Vandy. Scotty Stroud to his backline colleague Wilcox. There's Milholland. And the basket prevented only because of the third foul on James Bailey.
Ole Miss starting to gamble. They went out on a double team that time and tried to trap at the top, and they left Milholland wide open underneath. Look at this. See Bailey run back. He knows he's caught. He's trapped. He went out to try to double team, and he says, I got to get back in a hurry. It was a little late.
Milholland on the free throw line. He's had a good ball game off the bench. We talk about how well they've produced that Vandy bench. He got the roll. They're now 9 of 12 from the foul line. Well, we're on the subject of the Vandy bench. Of course, the task made a little bit tougher due to the fact that Dan Hall, who has played so well all year long for Vanderbilt, just tore up a knee in practice last Wednesday, and he is done for the year. Timeout, 53-45 Vanderbilt, and we will return to Orlando after this word from Pepsi. Vanderbilt is regrouped as evidenced by the 8-point lead, 53-45. Neither club shot the ball well at all in the first half. In fact, both teams shot 38%, but they picked up the pace a bit. And again, alluding to the great production that Eddie Fogler has gotten all year long out of his bench. Today, no exception.
Ole Miss made one big run, and Vanderbilt got it to within one. Then Vanderbilt pushed it right back out again. There's Reed with a steal.
Ball is out of bounds. At last was touched by John Matthews, and Eric Reed's reach in created the turnover. That's 11 times now Ole Miss has turned the ball over. Biggest lead that Vanderbilt has enjoyed in the game on a number of occasions has been 10 points. Scott Stroud hits the 2. That sends it back to 10 at 55 to 45.
Vanderbilt remains focused. A club that has played 3 games in less than 48 hours. They're not thinking fatigue. They're thinking we want the finals.
Glass lets it go.
That's the Gerald Glass we know.
And that's the thing that Vanderbilt has to be concerned about. If he all of a sudden starts to light it up like he's done ad infinitum in his collegiate career, it could be real problems for Vandy. That was his first field goal since the 1846 mark of the first half. And only his second of the game. But let's see if that field goal by number 4 is an indication of things to come.
Right now they're in a man-to-man, and it's Mays who's got the responsibility of trying to shut Glass down.
Stroud knocked it out.
Vanderbilt right back with the trap.
Here's Matthews. Wilcox gets to get him, and Harvell hits the 3. He finally drops one in, and that's the first 3-pointer by Ole Miss today in 11 such attempts. 55 to 50.
Well, I get the feeling Ole Miss is mounting an attack. They want to make a rerun at Vandy.
6.5 minutes to go. Scott Stroud on top to Wilcox. 2 little guys, Wilcox and Matthews.
Vanderbilt very patient on this particular trip. They've got the lead. The basket here would really give them a lot of confidence.
Stroud wanted to shoot. Great defense by Tim Jumper. Now 5 seconds on the shot clock. His man falls down, and Stroud knocks in the 3.
Boy, that's a big basket. Jumper went to the deck, and Stroud turned, looked, and saw no one there, and he said, I'll take it. And it goes to the bottom.
I'm sure Ed Murphy hopes he doesn't have to look back at that particular play and think about what might have been, because Jumper, the preceding time when Stroud got the ball, played such great defense. But he went down, and Scott Stroud made the most of it, and the Vandy lead is back at 8.
Vandy playing with a lot of confidence right now.
Stroud has it knocked away. He thought a foul was committed. No whistle. Here's Harvell. He'll bank it up. Rebounded by Wilcox.
Ole Miss cannot finish it off. Vanderbilt's got numbers.
And Derek Wilcox threw it away. And now they say it was last touched by an Ole Miss player, but neither official, Dave Bear and John Clockerty, agree with that. And look at Vogler. That's as vocal as Eddie has been all day long.
Leading his case.
Big time. Nice turnover for Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt back into a 2-on-2. Now Glass changes the offense. He moves out top of Jumper.
Jumper hits a hoop.
One of the few times that Mississippi's been able to penetrate that Vanderbilt zone defense and get inside of that first wave. Those 2 guys on the point. If they can do that, they'll get a lot of good, easy shots from about 8 feet right in front of the basket.
It's a 6-point game, 58 to 52. Stroud maneuvering. Now to Milholland. And here's a knockaway and a steal by Matthews. Mays goes up with him. And a foul on Charles Mays as he denies Matthews the layup. But a good free throw shooter for Vanderbilt, or for Ole Miss rather, will be on the line.
Watch it again, Matthews with a good steal. Off of the bench, helping the Ole Miss Rebels trying to make this comeback. Mays is right there to commit the foul. Good defensive work by Matthews.
Milholland and Stroud sit down as Vanderbilt substitutes. Grant and Anglin back in the lineup. Only 5 free throws is Ole Miss shot today. They're now 4 out of 6. Ole
Miss starting to mount another run here. This will be their second one of the second half.
They pull to within 4 at 58-54. Time on the clock. 4 minutes.
You know, Marty, I always feel
30
like in a close basketball game, the last 6 minutes of a game, there's always 3 or 4 possessions that become momentum baskets. You got to have them. If you don't get them, then it goes the other way. I think this is one of those trips.
Wilcox trying to shake free of Matthews, can't do it. You're wondering about the foul situation. Each team has a couple to give, both with 4 team fouls here in the second half, and obviously the way Vandy can shoot free throws, that could be critical. Reed pumping, no, rebounded inside, stripped away. Grant had it knocked away, and a collision as Glass and Anglin bang, or rather Mays, no whistle, and here comes Vandy the other way.
He's going to give it 2 shots. Well, John Clapperty did not hesitate. He called 2 shots immediately. Great ball movement again by Vanderbilt. Ed Murphy very upset that he didn't get a call on the other end in the collision. Let's go down and take a look at it again. Mississippi comes up with a steal. They throw the ball down to the outside. Now look at this right here. I'm not sure who pushed who on that one. You know, that's really a no call.
I was getting ready to say, absolutely. Nobody gained an advantage. Let them play. And that's exactly what they did. So here's Grant. He's had only 3 field goals, but boy, they have been big hoops. They all came in a short period of time. He scored 6 in a row earlier in this half for Vanderbilt.
Unusual miss. Vandy's struggled more today from the line than I've seen them all year.
They missed 4 free throws in this game after going 32 for 39 here last night. Got that one. 7-point for Grant. And the lead for Vanderbilt now stands at 5. 3 minutes and 46 seconds to go. Vanderbilt 5 up on Ole Miss, seeking to get to the SEC tourney final. 59-54 Vanderbilt with that time remaining. It's been a very impressive afternoon for Eddie Fogler's Commodores as Ole Miss has had a sputtering start and stop type of day. Let's talk about second half runs here. Ole Miss 10-2 from 15:51 to 12:53. That 10-2 run. Vanderbilt came back with a run of its own, and now Ole Miss has outscored the Commodores 9-4 from the 8:57 mark down to the current 3:46.
That is a great stat.
Yeah, it is.
It was outstanding work in the truck.
Pretty much tells the tale of how things have gone from the 18-minute mark up to this point.
Vanderbilt back into that 1-3-1 zone. Ole Miss is attacking with a 2-3 or a 2-1-2 of their own. Work those corners or wings.
Glass couldn't get it to go down. The ball is loose on the floor. Matthews to jumper, and out of the left corner, Harbell. Grant couldn't handle it, but Derek Wilcox could, and he gets it off to Morgan Wheat. There's a trap. Anglin to Reed, rejected by Glass. And Wheat outraced Harbell for the basketball.
What, did Glass make a great defensive play to keep that ball from going in? Reed a little slow reacting getting that shot off.
We drop under 3 minutes to go.
Now the pressure really mounts on the Ole Miss defense. They've got to force some turnovers.
The pass.
They just lost it.
Did they? Yes, they did. Grant could not quite get to the bounce pass from Derek Wilcox, and Gerald Glass is a fallen rebel for the second time today.
Trainer has to come back on the floor. That means either Ole Miss takes a timeout or they have to replace him. Here's the pass down inside. Wilcox just got it a little bit away from Grant. There goes Glass down. Looks like he may have hit his hip or his knee.
David Midlick checks in for Ole Miss for Gerald Glass.
David Midlick walking off the Ole Miss bench, ostensibly to come into the game, and with Glass in a seated position, Ed Murphy, the Rebel coach, arrives on the scene as Glass is helped up, and apparently, well, is he going to come out? Looks like he is.
Yeah, he'll have to, because if they don't, they have to take a timeout. Once the trainer's waved onto the floor, it's automatic. Or you can take the timeout and leave him in. Don't want to waste those timeouts.
No, not at this stage of the game. 2:51 to go. So Midlick in. He saw brief playing time in the first half. Taking a look at some other games, Clemson, the 17th ranked team, and won the regular season title in the ACC in a dogfight with Virginia. Louisville right now up 8 on Southern Miss in the Metro Conference tournament title game.
Vanderbilt back into that 1-3-1. Really, Ole Miss is attacking it with a 1-3-1 of their own. They need to hit those gaps. Get in between the point and the wings with a 2-1-2. Put your 2 guards on either side of the point guy, 1 guy in the middle and 2 guys on the baseline. There's a steal.
Derek Wilcox and Matthews with the foul.
Fouls on number 10, John Matthews, for Ole Miss, his first.
Right now, Ed Murphy over there asking Gerald Glass if he's ready to come back into the basketball game. Watch it again. Wilcox right here on the steal from Matthews at the top. You know, Eddie Vogler was asking for the intentional foul right there because Wilcox really had a breakaway.
1-1 coming up. That's a 17th foul against the Rebels. This is the situation as Glass returns that we talked about last night in the closing moments of Vandy's big win over number 1 seeded Georgia in this tournament. If you are forced to foul this ball club, you are operating at a distinct disadvantage. Top free throw shooting club in the SEC over the course of the season. And a big play by Grant to keep the ball alive as he tapped it back outside.
I got to believe Vandy's going to start to look and run some clock.
2:10 remaining.
Now Ole Miss's man-to-man defense is going to be severely tested. They're going to have to come out and play a Vanderbilt club that has been handling this half-court offense almost without a flaw.
Anglin gives it off to Wheat right in front of the Commodore bench. A minute 53, 52 seconds to go. They try to knock the ball away, unable to do it. Wheat drives, he puts it up, and an offensive foul. Whoa,
whoa, that's right.
They call the charge on Morgan Wheat.
I don't know about that. Ooh, Glass looked like he might have been moving toward that baseline when he came in.
That's right. Talk about a time when they absolutely have to score. Here it is right here, and Tim Jumper responds with a 3-pointer. And Mississippi immediately stops the clock with a minute and 36 seconds to go. Jumper with a 3, and that shot makes it a 3-point game. 60-57 Vandy. We will return to Orlando after these messages from your local SEC station. Tim Jumper just a moment ago poured in a humongous 3-pointer for Ole Miss to get them back to within 3 points. As you look at the junior guard who today has responded with a 15-point afternoon. And now it'll be Vandy ball.
Well over 1,000 now.
Yes, sir. Came into today's game needing only 3. He's had a good afternoon. Pressure. Inbounded to Grant and now to Droud.
Watch the trap. None yet. Looks like they're going to zone out of it. Zone trap. 1-2-2 or man-to-man? Here we go, man-to-man. You know, the situation now is I give the ball to Reed. I let Reed handle it because Patrick Eddy's on him and get him out away from the basket. Doesn't handle it well. I mean, does handle it well out there. And Eddy really in an unfamiliar territory way out on the floor.
Well, that's Reed with the ball, and Eddy right with him. Here's Wilcox. He banks it up. Too strong. It's loose. It is Ole Miss's ball. Matthews coming. He stops and he pops for 3. It throws up a brick. It is saved underneath by Anglin, but apparently a Vandy foul, or Ole Miss foul.
Glass. Foul on Glass.
We've got 57.8 seconds remaining as you look at the parquet floor here in Orlando, Florida. And Vanderbilt that amount of time away from moving to the championship round of this 1990 SEC tournament tomorrow. Scotty Droud going to the line, and boy, very, very impressive. That particular graphic. This ball club can flat shoot free throws.
Do you ever see guys get excited about making free throws? Vandy's team does. I mean, they walk around high-fiving, low-fiving. Droud again.
You know, the funny thing is they act like they're surprised that they make them.
I know.
They've been doing it all year long. And those 2 hits by Droud extend the Vanderbilt lead to 5 points. 62-57, and now it is hurry up time for the men of Ed Murphy. The three by Glass.
Yes!
Money shot by the Ole Miss All-American. They were 0 for their first 10 from three-point territory, and now they've hit 3 of their last 6. 62-60, Vanderbilt, 51 seconds remain. We'll return after this from the Southeastern Conference.
Let's take a look at the three-point shooting of Ole Miss, which really carried them most of the year. Here's Gerald Glass with the second one of 2 in a row by Ole Miss. Tim Jumper hit one earlier, and it's gotten them within 2 points, Marty. This was a club that really depended on the three-point shooting this year at 40%. They're a pretty good shooting club from mid-range.
Well, they were unconscious yesterday. That's the story that we told you earlier about. Almost 41 for the season, but in the tournament, almost 73%. Now, check out the number today. Only 3 for 17. Still in all. That doesn't quite tell the story in light of how big the three-point shots by Jumper and by Glass in the last couple of minutes.
All right, now the important thing here for Vanderbilt is to get the ball inbounds. They're going to double team Grant. They're going to guard the guy out of bounds. Eric Reed will have a totally unmolested pass. He can get it open. Tough to get it in.
Reed's in trouble. He gets it inbounds to Kevin Anglin. Glass knocks it away. Bailey, Glass, the shot, good, a three, and Ole Miss takes the lead by 1.
Three-point shooting by Ole Miss. Got him back.
Timeout, Eddie Vogler. Glass forced the turnover, got it back, buried his second straight three. And just like that, the Rebels lead by 1.
Marty, take a look at the inside. When you get the ball, get out of that corner as quickly as you can. Don't stay there. Anglin tried. Glass got it back on the steal, and he stuck his second three-point shot in a row. Boy, when it comes to money time, he's there.
He is a true All-American, this young man, Gerald Glass. He is 3 for 11 today and has now scored in double figures in 59 consecutive ball games. That three-pointer right there gives him 13 in the game. 63-62, 32.1 seconds remaining. The onus now on Eddie Vogler's Vanderbilt Commodore.
You know, in a situation, if Ole Miss was in this position, you could almost count on Gerald Glass taking the shot. But with Vanderbilt, you don't know who's going to take the shot because they've got so many guys who have scored in this game, and they've had so many heroes all the way through this tournament. You can pick one of 8 guys to do it. There's a guy, I don't know who he's picking.
He's just having a good time. Now, if you're Eddie Vogler, do you take it all the way down and shoot to put yourself in the championship game tomorrow or go home?
Marty, I don't think so. I think I run the offense, and when I get my first good opportunity to take the shot, I take it.
Vandy, keep in mind, still has 3 timeouts remaining. It'll be Kevin Anglin to pull the trigger. And the good defense again forces them to take another timeout.
That was great defense by Ole Miss. They just would not let that basketball come in from the sideline.
And again, they did not guard the man making the inbounds pass.
Well, it helps you. It gives you an extra defender on the outside. That way, nobody can get out there to make a cheap pass. The guy standing there holding the ball, I mean, with each passing second, the panic begins to build inside of you. I mean, you're trying to find somebody open. Guys are cutting, and nobody's getting open. Ole Miss, give them a lot of credit on the way they handled that defensively. They just wouldn't let anybody get to the ball.
And we talked all afternoon about Vanderbilt trying to get to the championship game tomorrow. All of a sudden, Ole Miss is looking at that possibility for the first time since 1981. When under Bob Welblick, the Ole Miss Rebels went on to win the Southeastern Conference tournament.
I've always felt like in this situation, I've seen a lot of teams run sideline out of bounds plays, and most defenses are set up to deny the ball, the guy breaking to the ball. I almost think you have better success if you go away from the ball to the basket or to the other basket, not necessarily toward the ball. Because the sideline really, I think, is an advantage for the defense because they really have a better look at it.
Speculating on who might take the shot. Consider the past history of one Derek Wilcox, the winning field goal against Alaska Anchorage, ditto against Alabama, and then hit 2 free throws to win the game against the Virginia Cavaliers. Wilcox gets the ball from Anglin. 63-62 Ole Miss. Steve Grant to Scott Drought. Anglin makes his move on glass. He starts up. He throws up a prayer. It's rebounded by Reed. Stripped of the ball. Out of bounds. It will be Ole Miss. Eddie Fogler wants another timeout.
You know what happened on that play over there? Anglin had a good shot, and Mississippi recovered defensively to stop the shot. Then Reed couldn't get the ball up on the slap away, so Ole Miss's defense rose to the occasion underneath that basket.
10.9 seconds to go. Ole Miss by one single point. They'll have the ball coming back following this timeout.
Marty, the last 2 minutes have belonged all to the Rebels. On the offense, they've had three-point shooting, but watch the defense. Look at the slap away right there. That's the first time the defense rose to the occasion. Here's the second time the Rebels came up. Watch Reed with the rebound and the slap away by Glass right there. Reed couldn't get it up. It goes to the corner, and Vanderbilt knocked it out, and Ole Miss retains possession.
Boy, the folks who read about this game in the paper tomorrow are going to look at the point totals of one Gerald Glass and say, hey, he didn't have a very good day. I'm here to tell you that he has had a fine day. Defensively, his passing has not been a big scoring day for a guy who ranks second in the SEC, but every other aspect of his game has been outstanding. And that foul by Anglin will put David Midlick on the free throw line, and he's the best free throw shooter on this Ole Miss ball club.
Not surprising he had his hands on it in the last 10 seconds. Eddie Fogler right there probably instructing Wilcox. Now look, if we get the ball, we've got to go for a three if he makes both of these. If he makes one, we'll just simply take our offense and run it. There's the guy that could very likely be the hero because he's their three-point shooter.
And one of the best in the Southeastern Conference. Ole Miss, 5 out of 7 from the free throw line. Consider that when you compare the numbers of Vanderbilt, 15 of 20. And here's Midland.
Missed it.
That he did, but the ball slapped back. Big play by Harbell. The ball is out of bounds, and with 5.5 seconds to go, it remains in possession of the Rebels. Now Vandy's got a foul immediately, and that's what Anglin did. 4.5 seconds remaining, and it'll be Glass on the line. And given what he has done lately, 2 straight three-pointers and bringing Ole Miss back with his last one putting him in front. And now he goes to the free throw line.
Marty, again, the offense of Vanderbilt's going to be dictated by what Glass does at the free throw line. He's a pretty good free throw shooter. He's at 73% for the year.
He can extend the lead to 3 points if he hits them both.
You know Eddie Fogler's got a play set up already. They work on this during practice. And I got to believe it's Stroud that's going to take it. They don't have a three. Ole Miss is going to take a timeout.
And indeed, Vanderbilt has to have a three-point goal now to send this game into overtime. 65-62 Ole Miss.
You know, all the times in this situation, we talk a great deal about what the offense is going to do, but I'd rather focus on what the defense is going to do in this situation. They've got to know, the brain trust sitting over there of Ed Murphy and all of his assistants know that Stroud's the best three-point shooter on this Vanderbilt club. You focus your defense on that one particular guy, but you've got to decide what you're going to do from an alignment standpoint. Do you guard the man out of bounds? Do you let him throw it in? They've had great success with that defense of not guarding the guy out of bounds and really putting pressure on the guys inbounds. I think in this situation, I'd take the biggest guy I've got, and that's either Eddie or Murphy, and put him on the guy throwing the ball in and make it difficult for them to make that initial pass.
Good point. Let's see how Ed Murphy plays it following this timeout. The winner of this game goes to the championship of the 1990 Southeastern Conference Tournament right here at Orlando Arena tomorrow against the winner of our second semifinal game today. And that'll be a battle of Alabama schools, Auburn and the University of Alabama. Auburn, of course, with that thrilling victory yesterday on the three-pointer by John Kaler in upsetting Louisiana State. And those two clubs will be battling in the second semifinal game today. Now, Fogler pacing at the Vandy bench. Steve Grant will make the inbounds pass. Reed, Wilcox, Anglin, and Stroud all in a line along the free throw line. He runs a baseline, runs again, looks, gets it off. Timeout immediately And 4.1 seconds remain to be played, so they've got time. Making the inbounds pass from that spot just short of the half-court line. So the timeout on the floor, 4.1 remaining. Vandy trails by 3. They'll have the ball coming back.
Marty, let's take a look at the coaching strategy by Eddie Vogler. Now watch the running of the baseline by Steve Grant. He goes right to the right side, looks up, and he finds Eric Reed right there, the old baseball pass right to midcourt, the immediate timeout. That sets up a lot better position for them to make an inbound pass from there than it is from the 94-foot range from one end of the court to the other.
That play took a grand total of 1/2 of a second.
Here it goes.
Anglin will inbounds. He does. Wilcox has it knocked away. He throws up a prayer, and that is it. Defense at the end by the Ole Miss Rebels deprives Vanderbilt of a shot that could have tied it up and sent it to overtime. You want to talk about wearing the Cinderella laurel? Well, right now you want to talk about the Ole Miss Rebels. Final score. And a note on this 1990 SEC tournament, 65% of the tournament games that have been played so far have been decided by less than 10 points. It was an impressive comeback by Ed Murphy's ball club as they garner the victory today that sends them to the championship game here tomorrow. It'll be the first venture of that length in SEC tournament play by the Ole Miss Rebels in 9 years. 65-62. Larry Connolly standing by with winning coach Ed Murphy.
Very happy man, I think. He says he didn't play well, but he's going to be happy to take this W. I'll promise you that.
It's better to win playing bad. I've lost a lot of games, but these lost games they played great at. I got to give a lot of credit to Vanderbilt. I think they all played us bad for 35 minutes. And we managed to fight hard and stay in touch and trying to hang in there. And then we hit some shots down the end and played real well the last 5. But, I guess you got to be lucky once in a while, so we'll sure take it.
And it was an uphill climb. You had a difficult first half. You had a hard time looking at Vandy's defenses. Couldn't get anything going offensively. Then all of a sudden, the threes started falling for you.
And it's completely out of sync. And we're a good three-point shooting team. We shoot a little over 40%. We're second in the league. And they were giving us the three-pointers, so we weren't making them. And you get a little brain damage when that happens, and you start getting reluctant. And we kept telling them to fire them up there when they got them. And finally, we hit some, and Gerald Glass played like Gerald Glass for the last 10 minutes, and we managed to win it. But, I think Vanderbilt did a great job. I can't give them enough credit. I'm glad to be in the finals, and I guess, once in a while you win a game. Maybe you didn't play quite as well as the other team, but like I said, we've had some really unfortunate luck over this year, too, and lost a lot of games. And we played good enough to win. And
there were some great expectations at the beginning of the year for your club, and you faltered a little bit during the year, but this gets it all back for you.
We're doing a pretty good job right now. The jumper kid's knee didn't come back, and Patrick Eddy, I didn't get him till semester. Joe Harvell is not playing like a freshman anymore. There's a lot of good things that are happening to us now, so I feel pretty good about where our program is right now.
Great. Congratulations and good luck to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
I got a happy man right here, Marty.
No doubt about it, Larry, and well, he should be, as Ole Miss comes from behind in the second half, defeating the Vanderbilt Commodores 65-62. Right now, let's go to Bob Kessling.
For this tournament, Ole Miss knew to go to a postseason tournament, they were going to have to win this SEC basketball championship. Ole Miss now is 13-16 overall, but if they win tomorrow and the SEC championship, they're going to the NCAA tournament. And by the way, today's win was the 200th in the career of Ed Murphy as the head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels. Final score again today, the Ole Miss Rebels have won in the first semifinal matchup, 65-62 over the Vanderbilt Commodores. You've been watching JP Sports' exclusive coverage of the Southeastern Conference Basketball Tournament. We'll return to the Orlando Arena after these messages from your local SEC station.